ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah took effect early Wednesday. The news was announced by U.S. President Joe Biden the previous day, speaking after both sides accepted an agreement brokered by the U.S. and France.
This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again.
Biden spoke shortly after Israel's Security Cabinet approved the agreement in a 10-1 vote. He also said there would be a drawdown period of 60 days, where Israel would gradually withdraw its forces as Lebanon's army takes control of its territory near the border, which Biden said would ensure Hezbollah does not rebuild infrastructure there.
Civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities.
Lebanon's foreign minister said earlier in the day that their army would have 5,000 troops deployed as Israeli forces withdrew. Netanyahu had also said in an earlier address that the ceasefire would allow Israel to focus on the threat from Iran, replenish depleted arms supplies, and give the army a rest.
Tonight I introduced to the Cabinet a ceasefire proposal for Lebanon. The duration of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. In full coordination with the United States, we retain complete military freedom of action. Should Hezbollah violate the agreement or attempt to rearm, we will strike decisively. If it tries to rebuild its fortifications along the border, we will strike. If it launches a rocket, digs a tunnel, brings in a truck with missiles, we will strike.
He also said the ceasefire would allow Israel to isolate Hamas, which Israel is battling in devastated Gaza. There was no indication the truce would help deliver a ceasefire or hostage release deal with Hamas. Biden leaves office in January. However, he said his administration would continue to push for a Gaza truce after the Israel-Lebanon deal, and for an agreement to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
President-elect Donald Trump's picks for his cabinet include some historic firsts. Senator Marco Rubio would be the first person of Hispanic origin to hold the role of Secretary of State. Trump's campaign manager, Susie Wiles, would be the first female White House Chief of Staff. And hedge fund executive Scott Bessent would be the first openly gay Republican cabinet member as Treasury Secretary. But Trump's cabinet would still be less diverse compared to when President Joe Biden first took office.
What we're seeing, unfortunately, is with the second administration of the Trump administration, a regression.
Mark Hannes is co-founder of Inclusive America, a nonprofit that tracks diversity in government. He says that while Trump's picks are more diverse compared to his first administration, the numbers still don't reflect the full U.S. population.
The bottom line is that the second administration of Trump's presidency is breaking many glass ceilings. However, it's going backwards in the overall picture of looking more like our people.
Trump has chosen 8 women so far for his cabinet, double the number from his first presidency. But it's still less than Biden's first cabinet, which included 11 women and then rose to 13, a historic high for women serving concurrently.
Proud to stand here with you today, President Trump.
Trump has so far picked 4 people of color for his cabinet, including Tulsi Gabbard, who would be the first director of national intelligence from the Pacific Islander community. But Hannes says that number is not representative of the U.S. population.
When it comes to race and ethnicity, he had approximately 4 people of color, or 16.7% in the first term. And in this time, he's got that same number, 4 people, so hovering between that 15 and 16%. And people of color in America make up close to 40%. So no progress at all when it comes to race and ethnicity.
Biden's cabinet included 13 people of color. Barack Obama's included 10, and George W. Bush's had 6. When it comes to age, there's quite a range. Trump, who will be the oldest president to take office, has chosen millennial and Gen Z women for top roles. If confirmed, 27-year-old Caroline Leavitt would be the youngest White House press secretary ever. And 40-year-old Congresswoman Elise Stefanik would be the youngest U.S. ambassador to the United Nations.
Rapper Drake took his running feud with fellow superstar Kendrick Lamar to court this week. He filed a pair of court notices Monday warning of legal action against major music companies for what Drake called manipulative promotion of Lamar's record-breaking diss track, Not Like Us. The song, released earlier this year, has lyrics suggesting Drake is a sex offender, with lines like "Drake, I hear you like 'em young," as well as references to a certified pedophile and a predator. The long-building beef between the two hit a fever pitch this year in a flurry of diss tracks, with the artist at one point releasing multiple recordings back and forth in the span of a week. Now Drake has filed a petition in Texas, serving notice to music giants iHeartMedia and Universal Music Group. He's accusing them of scheming to turn Not Like Us into a viral hit at his expense, with Drake being a fellow Universal artist. Universal denied it undermined Drake or that it used unethical practices to market Lamar's song. iHeartRadio representatives did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. Also on Monday, Drake's company Frozen Moments filed a similar action in New York Supreme Court against Universal and Spotify. In that filing, he accused Universal of a campaign to, quote, manipulate and saturate streaming services, including by using bots and pay-to-play agreements. Neither the New York or Texas cases are formal lawsuits, but rather notice that one could be coming. Universal also contested those allegations in a statement, while Spotify did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment.
More than 700 trucks are on their way to famine-stricken areas of Sudan as part of a major scale-up of aid. That's after clearance was given by the Sudanese government. The army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have been locked in conflict since April 2023, causing acute hunger and disease. Both sides are accused of impeding aid deliveries. They blame each other. The World Food Programme's Lenny Kinsley said the fleet will be clearly labelled in the hopes access is granted.
In total, the trucks are carrying about 17,500 tons of assistance, enough for about 1.5 million people for 1 month.
14 areas of the country are facing famine or are at risk of famine, including Zamzam Camp in the Darfur region. Kinsley said food began arriving there on Friday, with a second convoy on the way.
My colleagues on the ground in Zamzam Camp told me that people were lined up on the side of the road cheering as these trucks rolled in. They tell me that people in the camp are resorting to extreme measures to survive because food is so scarce. Families are eating crushed peanut shells, which are usually used as animal fodder.
Despite the celebrations, the aid is considered a drop in the ocean compared to the need. Many parents are mourning the death of children who died from malnutrition, Kinsley said. On Monday, the head of Sudan's Sovereign Council said he would allow airports in army-controlled areas isolated by the fighting to serve as humanitarian hubs for UN agencies to facilitate deliveries.